Conspiracy.
For the past 4 months, the world has watched as the effects of the Chinese-engineered virus known as COVID-19 has encompassed the globe, and I have found myself struck dumb. Together, we've watched as our elected leaders encouraged us to stay safer at home for 2 weeks in order to flatten the curve until today, where many in our country have been mandated to wear dehumanizing face masks, despite science's insistence that the mortality rate is decreasing faster than the positive cases are increasing. Wear a useless face mask or face a fine no one can afford right now and or jail time. COVID-19 is real, but our elected leaders' concern for us is not. For those who still possess the capacity for critical thinking, we know the masks won't protect us from this virus. It says so directly on the box, but compulsory face masks are necessary to create visible reminders of terror. Mandatory face masks are required in order to remove our individuality, our names, and our voices, to destroy our spirit and to turn us into zombie hosts of festering bacteria. I've watched with quiet heartache and amazement as our neighbors, disguised as brown shirts in our own community, create Facebook groups to rat out and snitch on local businesses who choose to respect their customers' freedom and trust their ability to use common sense and wash their hands. Those who do not comply are shamed, refused service, and ridiculed as anti-science from these same people who tell us there are 78 genders. Adolf Hitler would be proud. For months, we've endured an endless supply of contradicting information about an invisible enemy that's left us jumpy, hollowed out, and confused in a rolling sea of uncertainty. The perfect recipe for creating new normals. After months of the media's nonstop psychological warfare upon our nation, we were confronted with the snuff film of George Floyd, who was killed by a police officer. The media played its role to perfection by weaponizing the distressing footage and airing a man's death over and over and over and over. We understood the outrage and anger over his death. All Americans were outraged and angry, but as the flames of the fires in our cities grew higher and hotter, some of us realized that, as promised, no tragedy would go to waste. The outrage over the death of George Floyd became about everything but, and now we hear calls to defund the police, defund the prisons, from a cancel culture that will disappear anyone who has the audacity to speak against the narrative. Justice has been turned on its head. Black lives matter, but black babies don't. And evil is now good, and good is now evil. Woe, woe, woe. Our law enforcement has been abandoned, and so have we. We are on our own, and may God be with you if you are forced to use your Second Amendment right to protect your family and your home. You will likely go to jail. Like their heroes, the Nazis, well-funded organizations like Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and a host of others that cowardly remain nameless in the shadows are attempting to erase history through the removal of statues, old tweets, and yes, even burning books. The reason can only be because they intend to repeat it. Elected officials, entertainers, and corporate America have drawn the battle lines. A shirt is no longer just a shirt. Beans are no longer just beans. And you ain't black if you don't vote for Joe Biden. Some lives are more equal than others, and we will pinch our nose, or it will be pinched for us, as we gulp down our social justice medicine like the inherently racist, privileged white boys and girls we are. While we are so consumed with arguing over skin color, few seem to find it disconcerting that we are arguing over skin color. And as I struggled with my inability to speak during the months of media pearl clutching, the reason soon became apparent. I have no good news for our country's future to share. What can you possibly say when all of the conspiracies mocked for so long turn out to actually be true? Who wants to be the one to say it's too late, that America is done? The chickens have returned home and they are already roosting. Our sins have reached to heaven, and every day the sun shines is another example of God's long-suffering mercy. But make no mistake, there is no turning back. The days of our youth are gone, and we have entered a time that mankind has never seen or will ever see again. Our next election is only a few months away, and so much misplaced hope is riding on the outcome. Will we elect Joe Biden, who is clearly senile and unprepared to lead Thursday crafts at the nursing home? Or do we re-elect President Trump, who promises to use warp speed and the military to quickly disperse 300 million COVID-19 vaccines loaded into pre-filled Appy-Ject syringes, which contain RFID chips to better track pandemic outbreaks, of course? Do we elect crooked Joe Biden, whose Chinese social credit score wouldn't let him rent a Razor scooter? Or do we elect Trump, who wishes pedophile predators well while they await trial? Do we elect Joe Biden, who commands the power to revoke one's ethnicity if they don't vote for who the old white man says? Or do we re-elect President Trump, who has now declared wearing useless face masks to be patriotic? Will it be unpatriotic to refuse a rushed vaccine for a disease with no medical or scientific consensus that even Africa won't allow to be tested on its citizens? Those who think better days are ahead for our country are simply asleep. If Joe Biden is elected, America is on the fast track to a socialist black hole of misery. If President Trump is reelected, America will be made to pay with a fury most of us cannot even comprehend. The spiritual battle between light and dark is real, and instead of arguing against the schemes of man, seek the truth of Jesus Christ while you can. Because don't forget, we have a presidential candidate who thinks Islam deserves a more prominent role in our children's classrooms. If you're unfamiliar with the Bible, begin with the book of John and just read. Understanding follows an open heart that genuinely seeks God's wisdom. For those of us who do know the truth, it's time to come out from among the madness and folly of this world. Rot and decay has set in. Get your house in order now. The time has come for true followers of Jesus Christ to be a light and share with as many as we can that sustaining hope for the dark days ahead can only be found in Him. Mene, mene, tekel upharsin. America has been weighed, found wanting, and will be divided.
Conspiracy.